Right. Anyway. No, I said I was going to finish this yesterday with 2 streams, but not just how long the last part of this was. But we're finishing it today, no matter what. Right, this is what Godot was talking about. Yeah, the trick locks. Now then, Iris, please remove these at once.
Mr. Edgeworth, I'm afraid I can't. It's not possible for me.
What? During the earthquake, when the cavern was in danger of caving in, Iris escaped. I know that there was only one lock when I last came here.
So, you're saying that you can't undo the new locks? Yes.
If only I was stronger. Edgeworth, how are you feeling? You look a little pale in the face. Like you're one to talk with your face all green.
Miles Edgeworth, go and get some air. I'll watch over the suspect. You go and get a grip on yourself.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm perfectly...
There's no telling what sort of mistakes you could make in your current state. Go and get some rest. That's your only concern now, Miles Edgeworth.
Understood. I'll handle the investigation in the garden. You take care of things here. Edgeworth. He's got so much pride that he's probably off crying in a corner of the garden.
Pride is simply another trap that hinders us in our lives. That said, one must have pride to be effective on the job. At any rate, it seems that this is very part ways, Phoenix Wright. I'm going to stay here and see if I can't help solve these bothersome puzzles.
I see. Well, thanks for your help. Now then, do you mind if I ask you a few things, Iris?
No, not at all.
Why did you make a run for it, Iris?
I'm sorry. I heard the inner temple had been severely shaken by the strong earthquake we had. I was so worried, I just had to come and see. In other words, you didn't run away to escape the law. At least we're clear on that. I can't tell you how relieved I was when I saw the sacred cavern was alright, but...
But what?
Then I saw these chains here. I saw all these extra locks that someone had put on the sacred cavern's door and... Who in the world would do something like this? These trick locks are a sacred treasure of the Korean tradition. There are hundreds of ways to set them. That's why only the person who set the lock can open it. And you aren't the one who set these locks?
I don't think it's that simple, Francesca von Karma. When we were here the first time, there was only one lock. But now, somehow there's 5 of them.
What does that mean?
It means that someone wanted to secure the place even more. They wanted to secure it before you got here, Iris. Presumably because they wanted to make sure Maya couldn't get out. This means that Iris can only open one of these locks. The first one.
Yes, that's correct.
But... Iris, try to think, please! Isn't there any way around this?
Well, like I said, there are hundreds of different ways to set these locks. I suppose if I went through every combination with each one, I could remove them. It will take time, won't it? Yes, about a day if I had to guess.
All day?
Well, that's better than leaving the locks in place. Will you do this for us? Sure, I'll do whatever I can.
Got to wait another day. Hang in there, Maya. You're going to have to call on your inner strength now. You know what, Iris? There's still one thing I don't quite get.
And what might that be, Phoenix Wright?
I think it's obvious. Iris, on the night of the murder, where were you? Please, Iris, don't give me that look. You told us that you were in your room at Hazakura Temple at the time of the incident. But you were seen that same evening at the inner temple. And then, you were spotted at the scene of the crime in Hazakura Temple too.
Being spotted at both Hazakura Temple and the inner temple, it's as if you've,
Well, Iris, I think it's about time you told us the truth. I knew it. There's something going on here that we don't know about. The cops are still combing the place. They look pretty nervous. I'd be nervous too. It's got to be a tough job. Especially with someone giving you the evil eye the whole time. How could I have done that? Well, I can't believe it's still bothering him. Edgeworth? Oh! Hey, don't you dare run away. What do you want, Wright? What do I want? If you came here to laugh at me, then get on with it. Go on, laugh away. I was ready to hug it out with him. He's just the same prideful Edgeworth. You went back to the Criminal Affairs Department, right? You said you wanted to look into something concerning Iris. Yes. Thanks to what I found, I was reminded of something terrible. You guys are putting a lot of effort into the investigation of the garden here, huh? There's a high chance this is the actual scene of the crime, that's why. You mean because of the writing in blood? And the talisman in the snow? Exactly. As you know, those things couldn't have been planted here after the murder. But surely, you don't suspect Maya, do you? We have to treat everyone as a suspect, Maya as well as Iris. It's our job, right? So, I guess you still haven't gotten over your fear of earthquakes. No. Though thankfully my nightmares have stopped. But still, if the ground gives even the slightest tremor, I find myself short of breath. 17 years ago, when we were little school kids at the same elementary school, Edgeworth found himself in the middle of a murder. It all started with a big quake that hit the courthouse. Yes, I was stuck in the elevator with my father, who was a defense attorney. We were deprived of oxygen, and we passed out. That's when it happened. That single gunshot shattered my whole life. I lost everything that day, all because of that earthquake. My dreams, my family, and myself. It's been more than 17 years now. And that case was finally resolved 2 years ago, right? You think I don't know that? I was there, but it was such a shock. I never imagined I could be so wrong about myself and my life. I'm sorry, Wright. There's nothing else I can say. Not after you chose to become a lawyer for my sake, and not after you saved me. Edgeworth, you're stronger than you think, so no more of this self-pity, okay? There was something that bothered me about her from the moment we met. I felt like I'd seen her somewhere before. No, wait. Not somewhere. I felt like I'd seen her in court before. So you went back to the Criminal Affairs Department to look for her file? Yes. I checked over every case file I ever worked on. And I was right. I had seen her face before, 6 years ago. 6 years ago. It was my first appearance in court, and as cases go, it was my worst nightmare. So, who is she? I'm sorry, Wright. I can't give that information away to a member of the general public. What? Why not? It might be the crucial piece of the puzzle that solves this case. The woman I knew was the daughter of a jewelry store owner. He had nothing to do with Iris and Hazakura Temple. And neither did the case. No. That woman is completely unrelated to this murder. Unrelated? Yes, I can say that with complete confidence. You're wrong, Edgeworth. She's totally related to this case. I need to fill Edgeworth in. I need to explain the connection between Iris and the woman Edgeworth knew. Finally getting to the bottom of this case. I can count on Iris to break those locks, so I should try to gather some more clues. From Sister Bikini, Edgeworth, Gumshoe, and Pearls. It's weird that there's no one around all of a sudden. Sure gets quiet up here in the mountains when you're all on your own. Speaking of alone, I guess I should go check out the shack just down this path. Maybe I'll find Larry there sulking again.
Oh, Mr. Nick.
Pearls, what are you doing here?
Nothing. What about Mystic Maya? Is she alright?
Well, we don't know yet.
Oh, I see.
Hey, what do you think you're doing here, Nick?
Larry?
This is the Losers' Shack, where losers get together to lose themselves.
This is the what?
Hey, we find comfort in each other's failures, okay? You got a problem with that?
Look, Mr. Nick. Mr. Larice did a picture of me.
That's, great, Pearls.
We're going to gather firewood now. We'll be cooking some half-rotten potatoes over a miserable little campfire. Stay out of our way.
I don't believe this. Why can't he try getting fired up over becoming a better man?
No one believes a word I say anymore. Listen to me, Pearl. You don't want to trust this kind of guy, okay? He'll only let you down.
Oh, Mystic Maya.
Larry, is there something you want to tell me about this picture?
Hey, I've got nothing to say to you, Nick. My life's here now, with Pearl. Two losers cooking potatoes together forevermore.
What am I going to do with him? Alright then, what do you think about this picture, Pearls?
I think it's really well drawn. I can't draw at all, so I think it's really amazing.
See, someone appreciates it. It's tough getting the flames to look like that, you know.
It's supposed to be Sister Iris flying through the air, isn't it? I love it. It's like a dream. A wonderful fantasy.
No, it wasn't a dream. She really flew. I'm telling you, Iris really flew that night.
But, Mr. Norris...
Not you too. Please don't look at me like that, pal. Don't look at me like I'm some kind of nutcase. I beg of you.
I guess this picture really is a representation of what Larry thinks he saw.
Okay, so I was half asleep when I was here that night. But I was wide awake after the lightning struck. And I saw what I saw. It was exactly like I drew in the picture.
And it looks like I don't have any choice but to take this sketch at face value.
Hey, what's with the look of doubt on your face?
Charles?
Yes, Mr. Nick?
I've been meaning to ask you about the night of the murder. Where were you and what exactly were you doing when it all happened?
I was just... well, I'm just a kid, you know. I'm sure it doesn't really matter what I was doing, does it, Mr. Nick?
Sorry, pals, but yes, it does. On the night of the murder, you were supposed to be in Miss Dixon's room reading a book together. But Miss Dixon was murdered, and you, pals, were at the inner temple. Just what exactly happened that night, pals?
I'm really sorry, Mr. Nick. I've been a bad girl. That's why I'm being punished.
What are you talking about, pals?
My spiritual power, it has disappeared.
What? Our powers have disappeared? What do you mean your power has disappeared, pals?
It's all over for me. A spirit medium who can't channel spirits is like a painter who can't paint.
Hey, what are you looking at me for?
Pals? Did you try to channel someone's spirit right here at Hazakura Temple? Tried but failed, perhaps.
Way to go, Nick. You made her cry. That was really cruel of you.
Just as I thought. I'm going to have to break her psych locks to get the truth out of her. I wonder if Sister Bikini is back at the main hall yet. I haven't seen Gumshoe around for a while either. Maybe they're having a cup of tea together somewhere. I bet Gumshoe is Sister Bikini's type.
Well, what's the damage? How is the sacred cavern?
Looks like it survived, but we have a bigger problem now. I told Sister Bikini all about it. About the 5 locks that were stopping us from getting inside the sacred cavern.
But who could have done that? The only people who know how to set those trick locks are those of the Curine tradition.
We have Iris at the sacred cavern trying her best to open them for us right now. Actually, something I've been meaning to talk with you about, Sister Bikini.
Oh yes, we were in the middle of a chat, weren't we?
Yes, you were telling me how the Master of Curine disappeared 17 years ago. I want to know why Misty Face suddenly appeared at this temple.
It was about a week ago when Mystic Elise... No, I mean Mystic Misty arrived. After she showed me the talisman that proved she was the master, she said, "Someone is trying to destroy the Korean tradition's main family line. I am here to put a stop to them."
Someone was trying to destroy the main family line?
There is only one heir to the title of master at any time, and it's usually the eldest. That child becomes the new master of Korean, and her daughter's the main family. All other mediums become branch family members, with no hope of controlling the clan. That's why nothing has changed throughout the history of the clan. Branch families always have and always will plot to erase those of the main family line.
Is the power of the Master worth this much bloodshed?
You believe in the technique, don't you, Mr. Wright? You know its power is real.
Yes, I do. It's been 2 years since I first met Maya. In that time I've seen her channel the spirits of the dead plenty of times. During the Master Mars case. And during Maggie Bride's trial too. Thanks to Maya, Mia's always on hand to help me out when I need her the most.
The Korean technique has made a huge difference to the world, you know. I mean, the ability to commune with the dead. That's true psychic power, you know. Members of the tradition have always been there, behind every important leader. Who wouldn't respect such a tremendous skill?
I suppose so, but... with all that power and influence, kind of expected you'd be really rich by now.
Are you saying we're poor, Mr. Wright? Oh, you're very direct, aren't you? People don't believe in it anymore, you see. All because of one little mistake.
A mistake? What mistake?
It was 17 years ago. That's when everything came crashing down. All because of that incident.
That incident? She talking about what I think she is?
I'm sure the records still exist if you're interested. Locked up, of course. It was called the DL6 incident. That's the name of the file.
DL6 incident. I knew it. The DL6 incident. I know it well. I handled a related case just 2 years ago.
That's right. So it was you who was the defense attorney on that case?
The murder that took place 17 years ago. It was the first time in the country's history the police ever used a spirit medium. The idea was to channel the victim's spirit to learn the identity of the murderer. And the medium who performed the channeling was Misty Faye, Maya's mother.
Through Mystic Misty's channeling, the name of a certain man surfaced. Armed with that as evidence, the investigators were spurred into action.
But that man, he was found not guilty, wasn't he?
That's right, he was. And the case remained a mystery. In other words, we failed. It was the first case the world had ever seen the Korean tradition openly involved in. It was all over the media, the public, the judiciary, the people of Korean Village. Everyone judged her. Everyone said Mystic Misty's powers were a sham. And then she just disappeared, vanished while everyone still thought of her as a fraud.
But I know the truth. Misty Faye's spirit channeling wasn't a sham at all.
Of course it wasn't. And since you managed to reveal the truth, we're finally making a comeback. The Korean tradition is starting to recover at last. But with a new master wielding the power of the clan.
Does she mean Maya?
The spiritual power of the Korean channeling technique is in her blood.
Maya's told me the exact same thing before.
We, the women of the Fae clan, have always been spirit mediums. It's because the power to commune with spirits flows strongly through us.
According to Maya, only the woman in the family can inherit that power.
The main family's bloodline stems directly from Mr. Kami, but with each new generation only one daughter becomes the new master.
And the ones who don't become branch families, right?
That's right, and it's always the cause of tragedy.
You know, Maya had a sister too. An older sister named Mia.
Oh yes, I've heard of her.
What? You know about Mia?
Of course. She became a lawyer in the hopes of discovering what happened to her mother.
And lost her life. As a result.
Do you know what Mystic Mia is rumoured to have said? She said it wasn't only because of her mother that she became a lawyer. She also didn't want to fight with her sister over the leadership of the tradition.
Really?
Well, she saw what happened to her own mother, Mystic Misty, as she grew up. I guess Mystic Mia got tired of seeing all the rivalry between her mum and her aunt.
That's right. Misty Faye had an elder sister too. Misty, having superior powers, managed to usurp the Master's seat from her.
Mystic Misty's sister is Mystic Morgan, as you probably know.
Morgan. There's a name I know well. It was a year ago now, at Maya's home, Corrine Village. What she did was terrible. It was all so she could make her own daughter the next master.
Suppose if you know about Mystic Morgan's daughter, then you must have already realized that Iris...
Huh? Iris? What's Iris got to do with any of this?
That Iris is Mystic Morgan's daughter.
Iris is what? Is she kidding me? Iris is Morgan Faye's daughter? Did you just say that Iris is Morgan Faye's daughter?
Oops, I thought you already knew. It sounded like you'd met one of Mystic Morgan's daughters already.
I have. I know her very well. Oh?
Yes,
Bells. Oh, Faye. I always thought she was an only child.
you jest. That child, she's Mystic Morgan's. I had no idea. Mystic Morgan. But she's in prison now, isn't she?
Yes. Ever since she was found to be a co-conspirator in a murder case last year. It was all done to set Pearls up as the next master.
I see. So I've been wrong all this time. Mystic Morgan had 3 daughters, not 2.
Wait, what? 3?
Yes, Iris, her twin sister, and Mystic Pearl.
What? Twin sister?
Oh, didn't you know? It all happened 20 years ago. After the clan leadership was taken from her by her sister, Mystic Morgan's life crumbled. It wasn't many years later that Corrine's reputation hit an all-time low. When Mystic Morgan's husband realized his wife would never become the master, he left her and the village, taking their twin daughters with him.
How awful.
He was a jeweler, you know. In the end, he remarried, and that's when it happened. He decided to give one of his girls up, to be looked after by us here at the temple. That was Iris, you see.
It's unbelievable. Iris has a twin sister. Could it be? Could you tell me one more thing, Sister Bikini? What was the name of Iris's sister?
I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. I just can't remember. All I can recall is that her father was a jeweler.
Oh, that's a clue, I guess. A jeweler. Thank you very much. You've helped clear up a lot of details. Pal's had 2 older sisters, huh?
Yes, that's right. No doubt it was all because of Mystic Morgan's anger toward the main family.
Anger? What do you mean?
Her twin daughters were taken from her by her jeweler husband. But even that couldn't destroy her dream that a child of hers would one day lead the clan.
That's why she had pearls.
It seems that the incident here was a result of Mystic Morgan's anger. It was able to break free of the bars that confine her.
So, Iris has a twin sister. The plot thickens. But this information will be useless unless I can flesh it out a bit. I need to ask more questions and get some more info. Sounds like someone's happy. What tune is that they're humming?
No tune, no crime. No tune, no crime. Sing it with me, no tune, no crime. I remember when we used to search in the Korean, in the challenge room in Korean. Whoop, I love my job. Who cares if the clues I find are no good? That's not what investigating's all about. Investigator investigates for the love of investigating. It's a passion. Good cases we had, good cases we've lost along the way.
I don't even guess that Gumshoe was into reggae.
Every case is gonna be alright. Every case is gonna be airtight. Every case is gonna be airtight. Hey, pal.
Huh? Me?
How long you been there?
I just got here.
Oh, okay.
So what are you up to, Detective?
I'm investigating, pal. I made a promise to Mr. Edgeworth. I promised I would find the real murder weapon.
A real murder weapon?
That Bob sword thing turned out to be a false lead, right? I'm giving it my best shot here, but I still haven't turned up any clues. I just found these weird scraps of paper. It looks like a letter or something. Doesn't seem to have anything to do with the case, though.
Letter? So, how's the investigation going, Detective Gumshoe?
Well, I don't know if I should be telling you, pal, but I guess it can't hurt. It looks like the murder took place in the inner temple garden. And they're taking that bloody writing on the lantern pretty seriously back at HQ.
What? You mean?
I don't have the details, pal. All I know is, if you don't find Maya down in that sacred cabin, we're going to be faced with one ugly situation.
What kind of ugly situation are we looking at here?
You got me, I don't know. They're not my words, pal.
Then who said it?
Mr. Godot.
Godot. What did he mean by that? About that letter you found.
Don't remind me, pal. I'm busting a gut here trying to find the murder weapon. Not I find it's some burn-up old letter.
Burn-up old letter?
Yeah, it was in that incinerator right outside the inner temple.
The incinerator? I knew it. I knew I wasn't imagining it. There was snow on the incinerator when I first saw it. But after the incident, the snow had melted away, which means someone used the incinerator on the night of the murder.
What's up with you, pal? I got it right here if you want to take a look.
Can I? Do you mind?
Sure, go nuts. I don't want it, pal. You can have it. It's all spirit mediums and masters and stuff. I bet it's got no relation to the case.
Spirit mediums? It's got to be important if it mentions spirit mediums and masters. Can I look at it? Be careful. Once night falls, should be there. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, you must channel her. Spirit, leave everything up to her. The name is BSR. The whole. Here is a picture of her. Use it. When you channel her, I know you can do it. Once this is, burn the. Also make. Tell anyone about this letter. Bravely roast the master in the fires of Hades and bring our vengeance to fruition. Oh yeah, that's important. I better give it a good looking over and some serious thought.
Look, make sure you check in the trash when you're done. But make sure you chuck it in the trash when you're done. Bleh. Bleh. Make sure you check it. Make sure you chuck it in the trash when you're done. Littering's a crime, pal.
So, what do you know about the real murder weapon so far?
Well, it wasn't the shisha shato that was found impaled in the victim's body. Mr. Edgeworth proved that in court today.
Yes, that's true.
In which case, it must have been another blade.
And that's what you're running around like a headless chicken looking for now, huh?
Yeah, but man, is it tiring work. But let me tell you something, pal. I'm no chicken. We've got the feather of forensics in our cap these days. We're using the department's secret weapon on this.
Secret weapon? What's this secret weapon of yours?
Oh, you want to know? You've got to think scientifically, okay?
Alright.
The murder weapon was a sword. Swords are, scientifically speaking, made of metal, right? Any questions so far?
No. I don't know what he's gonna say, but I'll let him look smart.
So what's the perfect tool for the job? Ta-da! A metal detector!
Raise your hands if you didn't see this coming from a mile away.
Well, you want to give scientific investigation a go?
Me?
I've been using this thing for hours now. It's pretty boring after a while. Why don't you give it a try?
I don't know. Should I help Detective Gumshoe out or not?
Come on, pal. It's good fun. I'm telling you.
Alright then. Guess I'll give it a go.
Like I said, this is the department's most advanced gadget. The absolute best. So sensitive you could make it cry. It's so high-tech you could skydive off it.
Oh, bother.
So now I'm going to tell you how to use it. It's possible the real murder weapon is around here somewhere, right?
Sure, that's what we're trying to find out.
Right, so first let's turn the detector on. That's the sound of the metal detector's signal bouncing off something metallic. Next, move the detector around and give this courtyard a good look-see, pal. Don't worry, this baby will let you know when you've hit something on something metallic, and when that happens, pretend to give the area a good hard stare. This thing picks up metallic objects that are hidden from sight too. Take a good look at anything and everything that seems suspicious, okay, pal?
That all didn't need to be automatic text. Doesn't look like there's anything here.
Hey, pal, what you want to do is watch the detector and let it tell you where. Tell you what's where, okay?
Right already. Not exactly a whiz at machinery, you know. This is Miss Dixonim's staff, isn't it?
Scientifically speaking, they're usually made of wood.
The detector is reacting to it.
Yeah, but however you look at it, that thing's made of wood, alright? I don't bother investigating anything unless it looks like it might be metallic.
Isn't the whole point of a metal detector to find metal where you can't see it?
It's weird that this thing is causing a racket.
Yeah, let me take a look at it.
Hey, hands off! Examining evidence is a job for the...
The top is coming off.
Oh, look what you've done! You damaged a really important piece of evidence!
Ah!
That's
A sword.
inside the staff.
Is this... could it be?
The murder weapon.
I never have guessed there'd be a sword concealed in the victim's staff.
Oh, they call this kind of thing a sword cane, pal. This one's a real gem. The workmanship is really something else. Thank goodness it wasn't a cane sword, or else the victim would have been stabbed with... would have stabbed her own foot.
I officially give up on trying to figure out how Gumshoe's mind works. The real scene of the crime was the inner temple garden. Who was the sword used to kill the victim found in the main hall courtyard? Hey Gumshoe, who knows about the hidden sword?
Well, no one. Even the police didn't know about this until I discovered it just now.
And as they say, there's no team in Gumshoe. Doesn't look like there are any traces of blood on it.
Well, then I guess this isn't the murder weapon, huh?
No. I'm sure someone just wiped it off after the murder.
Yeah, of course. This thing's definitely the murder weapon. Great job, pal.
It's got the same length as the Shishato too. This must be the murder weapon.
Okay, I'm gonna run over to forensics. There's gotta be some traces of blood left, even if most of it has been wiped off. See you later, pal. Every case is gonna be tight. Every case is gonna be tight.
Wait up, detective.
Huh? What is it, pal? I'm a pretty busy guy right now, you know.
You're going to get that staff analysed, right? Right there. You're going to get that staff analysed, right? Would you mind holding off for just a while?
Huh? What are you talking about, pal?
Please. Just until we find Maya.
Maya? What's this got to do with her?
Don't know, but I'm starting to get a really bad feeling in the pit of my stomach.
Oh, so...
Look, Maya's trapped inside the sacred cavern right now and... well, I don't even know if she's okay or not. The more evidence and testimony I hear, the more uneasy I feel.
You don't think... Maya's been murdered?
Please, detective. Just wait until we can get inside the sacred cavern.
You're looking kind of viridian there. Okay. Just stop it with that face, pal. One thing though. This staff's secret trick. Let's keep it between you and me, alright? If it gets out that we know about it and didn't say anything, we're finished.
I understand.
This is just a regular run-of-the-mill staff. Got it? Okay. Now you take good care of it, pal.
Thank you, detective.
Don't worry. She'll be fine.
Gumshoe.
You know, there's a place at the base of this mountain that has some really good pasta. How about I take you there when you find Maya, huh, pal?
Sure. Thanks. I can't help but wonder though. What was Elise Dixon doing with a staff like this in the first place? Hey, Edgeworth. Did you know that Iris had a twin sister? What? A twin? You can't be serious. Sister Bikini told me, but the problem is she didn't know the name of this twin sister. There was nothing about Iris having a sister in the files I checked. Well, Iris was taken in by the temple when she was really young. Apparently her sister was raised by her father. A jeweler, I think. A jeweler? Right, I just might know who this twin sister of hers is. I had a feeling you'd say that. Let me guess. Her name is Dahlia Hawthorne, right? Yes, exactly. Please tell me what you know about her, Edgeworth. Please. It was my first court case, 6 years ago. It was a greenhorn, and due to my inexperience, the defendant died. You're talking about Terry Falls, right? You know about that case? You're not the only one who noticed something about Iris and Dahlia Hawthorne. I checked one of Maya's old files from 6 years ago. Mia's files. Yes. Dahlia was a key witness in that case. Dahlia and Terry Falls conspired together to stage a fake kidnapping 11 years ago. They stole a jewel worth $2 million from Dahlia's father, a jeweler. And 5 years after that, she murdered her own sister, Valerie Hawthorne, to keep her from talking. Her sister? Well, her stepsister, actually. They weren't blood-related. Valerie was the only daughter of Dahlia's father's second wife. Oh. This is when she entered my life. The woman who tried to kill me. So after Terry Falls died, what happened to Dahlia? Did you check that out? Does it really matter? Like I said, Dahlia isn't connected with this case. Why are you so sure about that? It's simple. Dahlia Hawthorne is dead. What? Well, her metabolic processes are a matter of interest only to historians, so to speak. What do you mean by Dahlia Hawthorne is dead, Edgeworth? Right. I must confess that in reading her file, I came to know of the murder case you were involved in during your college years. Dahlia Hawthorne was found guilty, thanks to the persistence of Mia Fey.
Mia Fey. Mia Fey.
At the time, Dahlia, it's like she was possessed by a demon or something. It's been almost 5 years since that guilty verdict was handed down, and her sentence was finally carried out. She was executed last month. Executed? I'm sure that's a bit of a shock for you, Wright, and for more reasons than one. But do you understand now? She can't possibly be connected with this case. She is dead, and once someone is dead, there is no way to revive them. There's no way to revive the dead. I wonder. Seems you're not aware of the other connection yet, Edgeworth. And what is that? It's about Iris and Dahlia Hawthorne's mother. What's their mother got to do with any of this? She's Morgan Fay, a spirit medium from a branch family with the Corain channeling technique. Did you say Corain channeling technique? Do you know something about it? Oh yes. I know it's connected with that fraudulent spirit medium. Fraudulent? I was involved in another nightmare 17 years ago. I was caught up in the middle of a murder investigation. The police didn't have any leads. They were stumped, and that's when they called her in. She was a very famous spirit medium, and the master of her channeling school. But you know what happened. As a result of her efforts, an innocent man was accused of murder. She and her powers, they were all fraudulent. Edgeworth. Go to the police records room. It's all in there. All you have to do is check the DL6 incident case file and you'll know. Of course. How could I forget? Edgeworth was the victim in that case. Edgeworth, you'll understand someday. And then you'll see that the Corain channeling technique is real. I think it's time you told me the truth about what you were doing on that night. You said you were in your room at Hazakura Temple the entire time. Do you still claim that to be true? To be the truth?
Yes, that's where I was.
Iris, I believe you're innocent. That's why I want to believe what you're telling me too. But I can't. Because this person saw you somewhere else on the night of the murder. I'm talking about Sister Bikini, of course.
Sister Bikini?
Her testimony in court today was very clear.
That night I was helping an acolyte with her training in the inner temple, but... well, as you can see, my back legs twacked up violently. So I left Iris to help the acolyte and returned to Hazakura Temple.
Sister Bikini didn't just see you. She spoke with you. You two talked about Maya's training that night. So you see, Iris, you were there at the inner temple on the night of the murder.
That's very impressive, Mr. Wright. The acolyte's actual training was due to start after 10 o'clock that night. I left the main hall early, so I wouldn't be late.
What time was that?
Let me see. It takes about 20 minutes to walk between the main hall and the inner temple. So I would have left at about 9:40 p.m, I think.
I'm sorry, Iris, but lying just doesn't suit you.
Huh?
Now you say you left the main hall at 9:40 p.m, but what you say doesn't add up with this. You yourself testified to the contrary, don't you remember? You said you rang the lights out bell at 10 o'clock that night. Plus, only moments before you rang that bell, you were seen at the main hall by the most reliable witness I have.
Who's that?
Me.
Mr. Wright.
We even spoke a little that evening. That's when you gave me this. Surely you haven't forgotten.
No, that's right. I remember.
That brings us to another puzzling fact, Iris. At 10 o'clock on the night of the murder, you were seen in 2 different places at the same time. It's time you told me exactly what's been going on, Iris. So far I've managed to prove 2 things. First, on the night of the incident, you were at the Inner Temple. And second, at the exact same time you were ringing the bell at Hazakura Temple. There's only one possible explanation for this apparent impossibility. On the night of the incident, you were seen in 2 different places at the same time. Which means there must have been 2 of you. I can't think of any other explanation, Iris.
That's crazy. How could that be? There's only one of me. It's impossible.
Impossible. I wonder. The way you're trembling certainly seems to suggest otherwise.
You're seriously trying to suggest there's more than one of me? Then show me the evidence. Show me something that proves there is more than one of me.
I have a firm grasp of the situation now, Iris. You have a sister, don't you? A twin sister, perhaps? That's right. Dahlia Hawthorne. A woman I know only too well.
I had no idea you knew of her. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. But she's no longer.
Yes, I know. Her sentence was carried out recently, wasn't it? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
There's no need to explain now, is there, Iris? This second you, who was here at the temple on the night of the murder. It was your twin sister, Dahlia Hawthorne.
But you just said it yourself a second ago. My sister's dead. Have you forgotten that?
Have you forgotten this, Iris? This is a channeling dojo, a training ground of the Korean channeling technique. That night, someone channeled Dahlia's spirit, and you knew about it. And that's a secret you've been trying to hide from me.
Ah. I was in my room in the main hall that night. As soon as I heard that I'd been spotted at the Inner Temple, I knew. I knew it was my sister. Dahlia, the other half of me who passed away last month.
Just as I suspected. The Iris that Sister Bikini saw at the Inner Temple on the night of the murder. It was Dahlia Hawthorne. Why didn't you tell me this before?
Because my sister always does the right thing.
Excuse me?
Because I mustn't get in the way of what she's trying to do. I already betrayed her once before. I can't do it again.
You betrayed her? What do you mean?
That's why I have to accept I may be found guilty. It's the only way.
What is she talking about?
You know about it, don't you, Mr. Wright? About the fake kidnapping that took place here on Eagle Mountain 11 years ago. That was the start of it all. It's what started her down that twisted path. She started to commit crime after crime, and in the end she lost her life. It's all because I betrayed her.
How did you betray her, Iris?
It was no coincidence that Eagle Mountain is where the exchange was to take place. After all, I helped plan the whole thing.
What?
But I got scared, so I ran away.
What are you talking about? Why would you help her? Stealing $2 million from your own father. That's awful.
But I promised that I'd help. And she didn't do it for the money.
Huh?
It was revenge on our father.
Revenge? What do you mean by revenge?
He was a hideous man. He threw our mother away and then sent her to hell.
A mother. She must be talking about Morgan Fay.
Our mother was the eldest daughter of the main branch of the Fay family. The main family had a lot of influence in many business and political circles at the time. As the eldest daughter, our mother was set to inherit all of that as the next master. That's the reason our father married our mother in the first place, for power. But his plan backfired. Because our mother's sister took it all from her, she took over as the master of Karain.
That would be Misty Fay, Maya's mother.
But before long, the credibility of the Karain tradition hit rock bottom. The new master, Mystic Misty Fay, had made a terrible mistake. It was during the investigation of the DL6 incident. After that happened, our father took me and my twin sister away, leaving our mother and our home behind. He hated the place. He said it was a hick dive, and that he had no reason to stay there.
That's when you came here to Hazakura Temple.
Yes, the woman my father took as his next wife already had a daughter, Valeri. I had no place in his new family, you see.
Oh,
I haven't seen my mother once since then. Having the master's steed stolen from her and being rejected by her own family. I've heard she's been very battered spiritually and emotionally.
and we're finally beginning to see how the pieces fit together.
I have asked her everything I can in my capacity as a prosecutor. This incident, everything related to it goes back to the history of the Fey clan.
That's what it looks like. Iris, there's just one more thing I want you to tell me.
What is it?
During the incident in which your sister Dahlia Hawthorne poisoned a lawyer, she began a relationship with a certain college student in order to hide the evidence. That college student, have you heard anything about him?
Well, I did hear one thing. She said she hated his guts.
I see. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome. Hurry up, Phoenix and Wright. There is still much to investigate. Leave these locks to me. I'll open them for you. I promise.
Thank you. Suppose I'd better continue my investigation. There is still one giant secret left to unlock. Hal's sight lock. Freaking Dahlia. Look at that. They really did make a fire right in front of the shack.
Oh, Mr. Nick.
You're too late, Nick. If you came here for one of our potatoes, we've already polished them all off.
I think I've pretty much got all the evidence I need. Now I just need to find out what Pals is hiding. After dinner on the night of the murder, he was supposed to be in Elise Dixon's room reading a book to her, correct?
Yes, I was so happy when she invited me. but I didn't go in the end.
You didn't go.
No, there was somewhere else I had to go instead. I was so worried. I had to go. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so nervous.
So Pearls never went to Miss Dixon's room because she was too worried about something or someone else. Pearls? On the night of the murder, you went to this place, didn't you? You were here. You went here, didn't you, Pearls? Looks like she's still not going to open up to me. This is where you went, because you were so worried, right? And then, the next question is, who or what were you so worried about? Now I'm going to take a guess, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, okay?
You mean you know?
If I'm right, will you tell me the whole truth?
Okay.
You went to this place for one very simple reason, and that is this. It's obvious what you were so worried about, Pearls. It was Maya, wasn't it? You knew the training Maya was undertaking was dangerous. After all, it was the special course.
I signed up for your special course. Well, my. Quite brave of you considering how cold it is. Young people can be so reckless with their health. Don't blame me if you become one with those you channel.
Sister Bikini scared you with what she said, didn't she? Because it was you who introduced Hazakura Temple to Maya in the first place. You felt responsible, didn't you?
Thinking about what could happen to Mystic Maya made me more and more worried. I couldn't sit still at all. That's why I decided to go and find out how she was doing at the inner temple.
Then we're clear now that you went to the inner temple that night, Pearls. What's not clear is what happened after that. At what time was it when you headed over to the inner temple?
It was probably around 9:30 when I left the main hall. I heard the real training was supposed to start at 10. I wanted to get there before it started. There was so much snow, so I didn't get there until after 10 o'clock.
Till after 10? How did you know what time it was?
Because I heard the bell ringing for lights out.
She had the lights out bell. Hazakura Temple's bell's pretty small though, isn't it? You must have pretty good hearing.
I was really trying to pick up the sound of that bell, that's all. I didn't want to miss it. That would be terrible.
She was trying to hear the bell. Tell me, Pearls. Why were you so worried about hearing that bell? I think I know why. The reason you were so worried about that bell was because of this. You were given some instructions to follow for that night, weren't you? I presume you recognize these pieces of paper?
Where did you...
In the incinerator at the inner temple. Pearls? You were following the instructions in this letter that night, weren't you? That's why you couldn't afford to miss the sound of the lights out bell.
I'm speechless, Mr. Nick. You're amazing.
These instructions that were found in the incinerator. I believe they were written for you, Pearls.
For me? No.
As you can see, a large portion has been burnt, but the last section is still fairly legible. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, you must channel her spirit. Who was it, Pearls? Whose spirit were you supposed to be channeling? Taking into account the author of the note and their purpose for writing it, whose spirit would Pals have been trying to channel? Don't overthink it, Phoenix. It's pretty obvious who Pals was supposed to channel. The person you were trying to channel that night, Pals, was... It was Dahlia Hawthorne, wasn't it? That was the name that was written in the letter. Just as I suspected. It wasn't Iris whose sister Bikini met at the inner temple that night. It was Dahlia Hawthorne. Do you know anything about her, Pals? Do you know what kind of a woman Dahlia Hawthorne was?
No. I've never heard of anyone by that name before reading those instructions.
Thought so. Pals doesn't have a clue. She doesn't know that Dahlia is her sister. About the instructions in the letter I found, Pals. Who wrote them? Whoever it was asked you to channel the spirit of someone you'd never heard of. You must have quite a lot of respect for them. After all, you followed their instructions without question. So here's my next question. Who wrote this set of instructions for you to follow? Pals, I have to wonder about something. You didn't have any idea what these instructions meant, did you? But you followed them to the letter regardless. Why? Because it was your own mother who asked you, that's why.
How did you...
I figured it out. The person who wrote you this letter was your own mother, Morgan Fay. Alright, Pals. It's time you started telling me the truth.
Mr. Nick, I...
Why is she holding back from me? I don't like this.
Don't underestimate me, just because I'm a child.
Huh?
You're trying to say I followed these instructions? Like to see some proof?
What?
Because I don't think you have any.
She'd say anything rather than admit to carrying out those instructions. I guess I'll have to produce some more evidence then. One more thing should do it. Alright, Pals? We both know someone carrying out these instructions on the night of the murder. But you're right, there's no evidence that proves it was you.
I knew it.
However, I do know that whoever did it was a child.
How do you know that?
It couldn't have been an adult. No adult would have made a simple mistake like that.
Simple mistake? What do you mean by that?
I'm sure you thought you were carefully following the instructions you'd been given, but you misunderstood some of the words, and this is the evidence that proves it. It was you who splattered gravy on this hanging scroll, wasn't it?
What? Why would I do something like that?
Do you remember what was written in that letter? Gravely roast the master in the fires of Hades, and bring our vengeance to fruition. But you didn't know how to read the words gravely and roast, among others, right?
How did you know that?
Remember the conversation you had with Miss Dixon on the night of the murder?
Perhaps we can read some books together. Really? I'd love to. I'm not very good at reading. Well then, would you like to practice reading with me? Miss Elise. So, for example, how do you read this? It says gravely. That's kind of a tough word.
Sure, Miss Dixon taught you how to read gravely and roast. But what she didn't teach you is what they meant.
Gravely sounded like gravy to me, and the only roast I could think of was the food.
And that's why you did it. That's why you covered the picture of the master in gravy from the night's pot roast. From that night's pot roast.
To be honest, I did think it was a bit strange. I guess I really did get the wrong idea.
Just a tiny bit.
I really am useless. I couldn't even burn the letter properly as my mother had asked me to. Asked of me. Such a simple thing, and I couldn't even do it right. After dinner that night, I did go to the inner temple. With a pot full of the leftover gravy.
The gravy?
I saw the picture and the hanging scroll near the sacred cave. Cabin, even. I was sure it was the master of Karain, like it said in the letter.
I see. And then?
Well, it was already way past 10 when I got there because of all the snow. So I went to the inner temple guest area.
The guest area?
Yes, I thought I could wait there until the training was over.
Why didn't you just go to the training hall?
Because Mystic Maya's main training had already started, and I couldn't interrupt it. So I just stayed where I was and prayed for her to get through it. But then
Lars, did you fall asleep?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I just couldn't help it.
Hey, don't worry about it, pal. Who cares if you fell asleep? I fall asleep waiting for Iris. I fell asleep waiting for Iris too. It happens.
Anyway, then you found yourself trapped at the inner temple.
Yes. When I woke up, it was morning. I tried not to cry, but Dusky Bridge wasn't there anymore, and there was no one in the training hall. I thought everyone had left me because I overslept. I threw the letter into the incinerator, then I heated up the leftover gravy, and
let off some steam by chucking the gravy on the scroll while you cried.
It must have been pretty scary for you, pal. I know what it's like. Nick used to leave me behind when I fell asleep at school too.
Don't equate something so trivial with her experience, Larry.
it was written right in my mother's letter. It said, as soon as you hear the lights out bell, you must channel her spirit. I was on my way over to the inner temple when I heard the bell ring.
So you channeled Dahlia's Hawthorne spirit.
No. I tried, but I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it?
I've never failed at channeling someone. This is the first time it's happened. I tried and I tried and I tried. Yesterday, this morning, the whole time. But I just couldn't do it.
Don't let it get you down, pal. It'll all work out. If you want, I'll come flying through the sky for you. Whoosh, just like that.
So she never managed to channel the spirit. Is that why you think your spiritual powers are gone?
Yes, I don't know what to do.
Isn't there any other explanation for why you couldn't channel a spirit?
I suppose there's one other possibility. It's not very likely, though.
Could you please tell me what it is anyway?
It could happen if someone else was already channeling the same spirit.
Someone else? What do you mean?
Well, there's only one of each spirit, right?
Yep, it's like dating a girl, Nick. You can't see a hot chick if she's already taken.
And that would mean on the night of the murder, someone else channeled her spirit before Pearls could. Someone else channeled the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne.
I'm a failure. I couldn't even grant my mother's final wish.
The final wish?
Yes, this letter. This is my last wish, she said. So make sure you follow the instructions carefully.
This letter. Definitely need to find out more about it.
My mother has gone to a place called a penitentiary.
Yeah, I know, Pearls.
I visit her every month, and last month she told me. The time we've been waiting for has come, Pearl. There's something I need you to do for me. I had a letter for you at our home before they brought me here. I want you to read it and do exactly what it says. It's for the good of the Fae Clan, my angel. You'll be doing a great thing. Now listen carefully, and I'll tell you where the letter's hidden. My mother is always nice to me. I love her very much.
Yeah, mums will do anything for their kids, right?
She said it was for the good of the Fae Clan, so I knew I had to help. I mean, Mystic Maya's part of the Fae Clan, so it had to be good for her too. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Nick?
I guess so. Yeah.
There was a picture with her letter too.
A picture?
Of Miss Dahlia Hawthorne. Usually a picture is enough to channel someone's spirit, but this time...
Pretty weird, huh?
Like Larry knows anything about this stuff.
There's something else that was strange about my mother's letter. The seal on it was broken, as if someone had already opened it once before.
Sure is pretty strange.
Someone had opened it already? Thanks, Bells. You really helped me out.
You're very welcome. My mother is watching over us, so I'm sure Mystic Maya will be alright.
Look at that innocent smile on her face. What am I supposed to say to her? Huh. Finally figured it out, have you, Trite? You finally realized how terrible of a crime being painfully oblivious is. Godot! The entrance to the sacred cavern looks like a freaking puzzle workshop. Guess he's talking about Iris and the lock-breaking effort. But it's all a waste of time. Why'd you say that? Because Maya Faye isn't coming back. What? You don't know what you're talking about. How can you say something like that? It was your job to protect her, Trite. Just like it was your job to protect Mia Faye. Two sisters caught up in the worst of circumstances. I realize that, but... And you were the only one who was by their sides. You were the only one who could have saved them. I didn't know anything about what was going on. What did I just say, Trite? Being oblivious is a heinous crime in itself. Tomorrow. We'll settle everything in court tomorrow. once and for all.
Mr. Nick, is what that man just said true?
It'll be alright, Pals. I'm sure Maya's alive. You'll see for yourself tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. I know I can trust you, Mr. Nick.
My dear Pearl, you've done so well, my child. My Pearl. It's better that you don't know what you've done. I knew this day would come for you. The blood of the main family is no more. Now, finally, after all this time, the master's seat is yours. My last great wish. It seems I was just in time. Give me a quick second. I need to go to the toilet quickly. I also needed to put on a fucking jacket, kind of. Because for some reason it's freezing goddamn cold in my room at the moment. Oh, look. I have been bot followed by a hotspot. How annoying. Oh well. Anyway, right.
Good morning. Oh, are you by yourself?
Morning, pals.
Mr. Nick, please don't tell me. Please tell me what's going to happen to Mystic Maya.
I'm sorry, I don't know yet. The investigation is still going on, so I wasn't allowed into the inner temple.
Oh, I see. So is Sister Iris still trying to remove those trick locks in the training hall?
No. She's the defendant in this case, so she can't be at the inner temple. She's required to be here in court.
Then how come she's not here in the defendant's lobby?
I have to admit, it's kind of strange. If you're looking for Iris, she's in the prosecutor's lobby. If you're looking for Iris, she's in the prosecutor's lobby. Edgeworth? What's Iris doing over there? She is going over today's testimony with the prosecutor as we speak. Today's testimony? You heard me. Iris is going to be testifying as a witness for the prosecution. Wait, what? The prosecution is squeezing her for a confession. Also, I heard. Francesca von Karma, what are you up to? I know what you're thinking, but Francesca isn't going to be the prosecutor today. What?
Then who is?
Who else would it be but Godot? Godot. Francesca is engaged in some important work at the Sacred Cavern.
The Sacred Cavern? You don't mean that she's...
Exactly. She has been out there all night trying to remove those trick locks. With the head nun's assistance, naturally. We estimate that the last of the locks should be taken care of in about 3 hours. I hope everything continues to go smoothly and we receive some good news soon. Yeah. Thanks, Edgeworth. Prosecutor Godot intends to nail this case shot today. Be prepared to fight like there's no tomorrow. You don't have to tell me that. Touché. I can already see it in your eyes. You're not the same fever-ridden fanatic maniac you were yesterday. Frantic maniac, even. Strange. On the way here I decided that today would be the end of all of this. Almost immediately after I made that decision, I felt myself getting stronger. Interesting. Maybe you've passed your cold onto someone else. Literally. And with that, I leave the rest in your capable hands, partner. Thanks. Still don't have answers for most of the riddles plaguing this case. The circumstances around the murder of Miss Elise Duxenim. No, I mean Miss Misty Fay. The impossible flight Larry claims to have seen. And what that woman is really after. I'll solve them all and bring this whole tragedy to an end.
Court is now in session for the trial of Iris of Hazagura Temple.
Your Honor, what are you...
Oh, me? Well, my little brother came to visit me in my chambers earlier this morning. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, he developed a scorching fever and fainted. Therefore, I've been standing in for him.
I see, Your Honor. So they're brothers. That explains a lot.
Oh, my poor brother. He looked a bit pale, not to mention sad that he couldn't be here.
It is impossible to predict what the future has in store for any of us. This is precisely why people feel the need to judge the past. We of the court are being charged with the solemn duty of passing such judgment.
Well said, Mr. Godot. I understood exactly what you said, at least up until the end anyway. Now then, Mr. Godot, please proceed with your opening statement.
Humans are fragile, fickle beings. Our hearts change with the shifting of the tides. There is only one thing that remains constant in this crazy world. The bitter darkness that lies at the bottom of this mug.
So then you mean... forget it. What do you mean?
During yesterday's trial, the accused refused to admit her role in the crime. Today, she has had a change of heart. Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple has a confession to make.
Confession? The defendant?
Iris. Why didn't she discuss this with me first?
Very well. This court will now hear the defendant's confession.
Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
My name is Iris. I'm but a simple nun undergoing training at Hazakura Temple.
Witness, is there something that you want to confess to?
Yes. But first I want to apologize to Mr. Wright. I can't continue lying to everyone anymore.
It's all right. What is it?
Mr. Wright, I have to admit that I did play a part in this terrible incident.
Are you actually confessing? Are you saying that you were the one who murdered Mr. Lee Stooksonim?
No, I'm not, Your Honor. But I dealt with the cover-up after the murder took place. After her spirit left, I took the lifeless shell of Mystic Elise and carried it to the Hazakura Temple courtyard, where I desecrated it.
What? Order! Order in the court! Order! Witness, are you saying you were an accomplice to the murder?
Yes, that's correct.
What? 8 minutes in court and I'm already covered in a cold sweat. Everyone on the planet is an accomplice to something. It just happens to be that in this case, it's to murder. Isn't that right, Mr. Troit?
Godot.
So this is the confession they were conferring about. Pains me to say this. It looks like Iris's testimony was all a lie. Now then, little lady, if you don't mind, I've got a question for you. Whose crime were you trying to cover up by your actions? Iris was covering for someone? I'm definitely up the creek without a paddle or a life jacket.
I've been at Hazakura Temple ever since I was a little girl. Hazakura Temple is run by one of the branch families of the Korean tradition. One of our missions is to protect the main family.
I'm sorry, but main family?
Yes, and that's why I would dirty myself, if need be, to protect her. I'm the daughter of the master of the Korean channeling technique, Mystic Maya Fey.
Huh? Wake up and smell the coffee, Troit. She's naming Maya?
Order in the court. So not only did you witness the murder, you know the name of the murderer.
I'm terribly sorry, but it's true. I saw her commit the crime with my very own eyes. and then I cleaned up the area to try to protect her.
That's ridiculous. Maya could never...
The defense will refrain from commenting until the appropriate time. Now, witness, let's hear your testimony. What exactly happened on the night of the crime?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thought I was prepared for the unexpected. I never imagined the case would wind up going in this direction.
I went to the inner temple that night, and I saw it all happen in the garden. I saw Mystic Elise strike Mystic Maya with her staff. While Mystic Maya was still stumbling, Mystic Elise moved in to deliver a fatal strike. Mystic Maya tried desperately to defend herself and stole the weapon. It was only in self-defense. You can't blame her for it.
So it was in self-defense.
Yes, Mystic Elise was the one who attacked first. That's why I tried my best to protect Mystic Maya.
You moved the victim's body to the temple so that Maya wouldn't be suspected. Isn't that right? Not bad. You've got the instincts of a true criminal. Something's not quite right. I'm sure it was established yesterday. But Iris never went to the inner temple that night. And that the person who did go was... that woman. Iris even admitted it.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please proceed with your cross-examination.
Sister Iris, your testimony has changed quite a bit since yesterday. You stated yesterday that on the night of the murder, you didn't go to the inner temple. Did she now? Too bad for you. What she said yesterday doesn't mean much today. By the way, where were you when she claimed that she didn't go? It was in the inner temple's training hall? Private conversation between the two of you does not constitute testimony. That would be properly described as hearsay.
What did you have to say, witness? What do you have to say, witness?
I just couldn't tell him the truth at that time. Mystic Maya, she's your girlfriend, isn't she? I didn't want to be the one to break it to you that I saw her commit murder.
There. We all understand how difficult this is for you. Now then, let's continue with the testimony. What did you witness in the temple garden?
Well, Your Honor,
You're saying that the victim attacked Maya. Miss Faye.
yes, it was a truly frightening scene. Mystic Maya was struck hard on the head and looked like she was going to collapse.
What were you doing at the time? Why didn't you stop them from fighting?
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Wright. I was frightened. I couldn't move. I couldn't even speak. I was in such shock.
That's perfectly understandable, my dear.
This doesn't sound right. I don't believe this testimony for a minute.
What happened after that?
She moved in to deliver a fatal strike.
Yes, I'm sure of it. She threw down her staff and reached into her robe for a weapon.
Wait a minute. What was this weapon?
It was some kind of dagger.
Dagger, huh? And at least Dukes and him tried to stab her with this weapon. To kill Miss Faye.
Yes, Exactly.
You look like I did after I mistakenly took a swig of Worcestershire sauce. Do you have a problem with the testimony we're hearing from your client, lawyer boy?
Do I have a problem with Iris's testimony?
Your Honour? I have a small problem with the witness's testimony.
You do? But this witness is your own client.
Yes, well, nevertheless. That's fine. Witness, let's add your last statement to the testimony.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just a moment. It's my job to say that.
Listen, Gramps. I won't say it again. Final judgment will be rendered by me. Okay, now, let's continue.
She threw her staff away and pulled a dagger from inside her robes. Inside her robe, even.
She threw her staff away.
Mystic Elise was trying to kill Mystic Maya. I think that's why she wanted a more lethal weapon.
It's true. It's not easy to inflict a deadly blow with a staff.
Sister Iris, let me make sure I've got this straight. The victim herself chose to throw away her staff.
Yes, that's what I saw.
Is there anything odd about that, Mr. Wright?
Yes, it's all right.
Mystic Elise attacked Mystic Maya with a dagger. I'm sure of this.
And then...
Mystic Maya, she turned things around and then... she used the weapon she had taken and lunged forward for a strike.
Witness, are you absolutely certain?
Yes, but believe me, she had no choice. If Mystic Maya hadn't done something...
Maya Fey's name would have been written on this autopsy report instead.
Yes, I see.
This is bad. Still can't put the pieces together. If I find a contradiction in her testimony, Maya's going to get blamed for this.
I only have this to say.
So you're saying Maya Fey was the one who stabbed Miss Elise Dixon? Sister Iris, is that really what you saw?
Yes.
Right. If your mug is filled with black and bitter suspicions, the only way to get rid of them is to drink them down quick. Like this. I know that's supposed to be a metaphor, but I don't get it. There's only one thing you need to get right. It's called evidence. Now hurry up, before my next cup gets cold. What does that mean? Is Godot waiting for me to point out the contradictions? I could avoid the whole spirit channeling thing if I can. Not only would it be inadmissible as evidence, but I think it might actually hurt our standing with the judge. First I need to pick her testimony apart and expose the unnatural sounding parts. I don't know why Iris would tell a story like this. There are two things I noticed that just don't add up. Sister Iris, there's something strange about your version of events.
Huh?
Miss Dixon throwing her staff away makes no sense at all to me.
But all you can do with a staff is hit someone.
Naturally, you wouldn't know this, Sister Iris, but the victim's staff had a special feature about it. As you can see, it's a sword. If Elise Duxonim really had wanted to kill Maya Fey, she wouldn't have needed to use a separate dagger. Now, not when she already had a beautiful blade in her hands already. Well, Sister Iris, what do you have to say? It was an impressive bit of investigating, Wright. I never would have thought there was a sword hidden in that star. But even so, how should I put this? The long sword is unwieldy, and thus quite ineffective in close quarters combat. Maybe that's why she chose a dagger over a blade. Well, anyway, the type of weapon she chose to use isn't what's important. The important thing is that she tried to kill Maya Fey. As long as there's nothing strange about that, there's no problem with her testimony. But there is something strange about this whole testimony.
Well, Mr. Wright, the prosecution has a point.
Very well, Your Honour. The defence will now present evidence to back its argument.
Mr. Wright,
I have here another piece of evidence that shows that this testimony can't be trusted. Because Miss Elise Duxonim would never attempt to take the life of Maya Fey. Elise Duxonim would never have attacked Maya Fey.
how can you be so sure?
Because the victim's real name was not Elise Duxonim. Her real name was Misty Fey.
Fey?
No, not Misty Fey.
Who is this Misty Fey? Is she related to?
Misty Fey is the master of the crane channeling technique. She is also the mother of Maya Fey.
Are you serious?
Is it really true, Mr. Wright? Was Elise Duxonim actually the great mystic Misty?
There's no doubt about it. Looks like Iris had no idea.
Can hardly believe it.
The idea that she would try to kill her only daughter, one she hadn't seen in 17 years. Perhaps the prosecution can offer some explanation for why she would do such a thing.
Order in the court. Upon first hearing the witness's testimony, it seemed natural enough. However, in light of some facts that have just been presented, one, that the victim supposedly threw away a sword during a fight, and two, that the two people battling to the death were mother and daughter, despite the facts being believable when taken on their own. When taken together, the entire story seems difficult to believe.
Listen, there's nothing in this world that is impossible. Except for one little thing.
Yes? What is this one little impossible thing?
You still don't get it. You think, maybe my beans are under-roasted, but you have no idea, Gramps. Could you get to your point? I heard this witness's confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 8th cup of morning coffee.
I'm going to ruin your health, my friend.
Anyway, after hearing this woman's confession, I had a detective who loves to investigate sent to the scene of the crime. And he discovered this little beauty.
Is that the dagger the witness testified to seeing?
Obviously, Your Honor. But Do you not notice something else?
Now that you mention it, if you look closely, there appears to be blood on it.
Where did you find that? I didn't see that when I investigated the crime scene. Did you investigate the pine tree at the crime scene? Pine tree? This dagger was stuck in the back side of the pine tree. When the last blow was struck, ending the right barrel between the two women, this little baby was thrown in the direction of the back of the pine tree.
Which means the blood on this blade dagger belongs to the victim, correct?
Were you even listening, old man? I first heard this confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 13th cup of morning coffee. Didn't you say it was your 8th just a few minutes ago? I didn't have enough time to get the blood analysed on such short notice.
In any case, the court will accept the dagger as evidence. Furthermore, I order that a blood test be performed on it immediately.
This is my sweetheart. Make sure you treat her right.
Bailiff, get this piece of evidence to the crime lab for testing immediately. Now then, the testimony we just heard had numerous unbelievable aspects to it. However, after having found the very dagger the witness spoke of, I believe we can consider her testimony to be credible.
Cute girls never lie. Ever.
In any case, witness, if you could please testify again to this court.
About what, Your Honor?
About the incident you saw. The battle between the two women.
Yes, Your Honor. Mystic Maya stumbled briefly after being hit over the head with the star. But then she dodged Mystic Elite's next attack and stole her weapon. Suddenly, Mystic Elite was on the defense, with her back to the stone lantern. That's when Mystic Maya stabbed Mystic Elise. Mystic Elise managed to fling the knife away, but then she collapsed.
That was a very heartbreaking story.
I don't know if there was any bad feelings between them, but it had been 17 years since Mystic Misty's disappearance. Perhaps they simply didn't recognize each other anymore.
That seems reasonable. Now then, Mr. Wright, proceed with your cross-examination.
Iris, where were you standing when you witnessed all this?
What do you mean?
Well, if either of them had noticed you, they might not have continued their battle.
I wonder if that's true. The two of them, they were standing near the garden stone lantern. I was watching the whole thing from behind. It was dark where the two of them were, so I think that's why they didn't see me.
So it was dark in the garden when the murder took place. Tell me, what did Miss Fay do after she was struck?
What happened to the victim's staff then?
I'm not sure. The area was very dark, so I really couldn't see. I think it got knocked away somewhere as the fight escalated.
That makes sense. That would explain the need for the dagger.
Mystic Elise raised the dagger to strike, but Mystic Maya dodged it at the last second. The dagger struck the lantern and fell to the ground. And then at some point, Mystic Maya picked it up.
Nothing sounds especially strange yet.
What did the victim do when the weapon was stolen from her?
You're saying that Maya Fey turned the tables on the victim.
Yes,
But Mystic Maya wasn't herself at the time.
but Mystic Maya wasn't herself at the time. After all, her life was in danger.
Still can't believe it. The idea of Maya cornering someone at knife point. It's just silly. As they say, a cornered fox is more dangerous than a jackal. I believe the correct description of a cornered fox is scared and petrified. Your animal analogies have grown tiresome. You were the one who started it.
Anyway, so after Maya Fey backed the victim into the stone lantern, what happened next?
I'm absolutely certain that's what you saw.
Yes, I'm almost certain.
Almost.
The garden was dark. I couldn't really tell who was who.
What did she just say? So in other words, it could have been someone else entirely.
Objection!
We know that Maya Fey was at the inner temple that night, and that the woman that was killed was Elise Doosanim. Isn't it fairly obvious who attacked who?
I don't have anything to counter that yet.
Well then, witness, please continue with your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. The two of them faced each other for a moment. Then Mystic Maya rushed straight into Mystic Elise. Then Mystic Elise stumbled over and fell to the ground.
So she was stabbed in the stomach, huh?
Yes.
Where did that dagger go?
I have no idea. It was dark and I couldn't see.
According to the detective who found the dagger, it was stuck into the pine tree in the garden. Most likely it was flung toward the tree after the struggle.
That is a most likely explanation, yes.
Being stabbed in the stomach, did the victim collapse right away?
Now that I think of it, she seemed to stare at Mystic Maya for a while. Mystic Maya stood there not moving an inch. It felt for a moment like time had just stopped. But then, suddenly as if the spell had worn off, Mystic Elias fell over.
Seems like a reasonable story at first. But something that is completely impossible. The very idea of Maya stabbing someone, that alone is impossible, which means this faulty testimony must contain another contradiction in it somewhere. Something about you just isn't right today, Iris.
Huh?
Until now I didn't think you were the type to make such a careless mistake. However, the testimony you just gave contains quite a few contradictions.
What do you mean? What's so wrong about my testimony?
According to you, Fireface stabbed the victim while she had her back to the stone lantern, correct?
Yes, that's right.
But in that case, the victim would have been stabbed in the stomach, right?
Yes, I think so.
But according to the autopsy report, the cause of death was due to blood loss from a stab wound in her back. This proves that the victim was stabbed from behind, not from the front. Sister Iris, it appears another seed of doubt has sprouted from your testimony.
What is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright?
It's simple. People are like books. You've all got a front and a back. You get my drift.
Is that all you have to say?
I can also say that darkness loves to play with the human mind. So please knock it off with the cheesy proverbs and illogical metaphors already. Point is, too much of this testimony just doesn't make sense. Throwing away a useful staff, the people fighting being mother and daughter. And now she falsely claims the victim was stabbed in the stomach.
There certainly are some inconsistencies.
Well, Iris, how about it?
Well, it's just...
If you ask me, you're just being too naive about the whole thing. What do you mean? There are 253 distinct types of bitterness in coffee, but to pick out each one requires total concentration and the use of all the senses. Are you really concentrating on what this witness actually said?
Prosecutor Godot, explain yourself.
The witness was quite unambiguous about her own ambiguities when she said that the garden was dark and she couldn't see clearly. A human needs one thing to see clearly, and that is light.
Light?
By the way, did you know? Hazakura has a rule that on nights when an acolyte is at the inner temple training, the stone lantern in the garden must be kept lit. I did wonder what that stone lantern was there for.
Well, if that's true, shouldn't the witness have been able to see the crime more clearly?
Normally, yes, Your Honor, but according to the head nun, Sister Bikini, on the night of the crime, it was impossible to light that stone lantern. Impossible? It hadn't been used in a long time, and the wick was no good. In other words, it had to have been nearly pitch black in the garden that night. There could have been a faint light coming from the training hall, but that's all.
Most enlightening.
Yes, that illuminating fact. One second.
Oy. Yes, that illuminating fact has chased all the contradictions away. God. If the staff was dropped, it would be difficult to see. It also explains why they didn't recognize each other. We can't see the demons that lurk in the night. That's why humans are weak. Isn't that right, Trite? No! Mortar! 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 Here, Your Honor. Let me present you the stone lantern into evidence. Maybe it will rekindle the flame of truth in your mind.
Why is the judge just sitting there with that look on his face?
What's wrong, Your Honor? Was that flame too hot? No, this lantern, there's something written on it. Why, it's written in blood.
Oh boy. So the judge didn't know about that yet.
Written in blood? It says Maya upside down. What the?
Oh yes, that's right. After being cornered and then stabbed by Mystic Maya, Mystic Elise didn't fall down right away. She must have been writing that on the stone lantern behind her. With the blood that was draining out of her body.
It certainly looks that way. Hang on just a minute. What are you all talking about? What do you mean, what are we all talking about?
Talking about the message written in blood.
Nonsense. This lantern is as clean as a whistle.
Could it be? Can't see the bloody writing at all. Now that I think of it, he did say something to me yesterday.
My eyesight is pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, I still can't see everything.
So that's what he meant by that.
In any case, this is obviously an important clue. We now know that the crime scene was dark, and that the victim scrawled this message on the stone lantern. Well, Mr. Godot, any further question? Anything further? Mr. Godot? Okay then. Let's move on.
It was literally shaking, and somehow I don't think it's from the caffeine overdose.
I believe it has now been established that Miss Duxenim was killed by Maya Fey.
That's just wrong.
Now it's time to turn our attention to you.
Yes, sir.
After the victim died, you did something, didn't you? Let's hear it. We're all ears.
After Mystic Elise died, I called out to Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future master of the Terrain tradition. So I removed the body from the inner temple by myself. I dragged it behind me all the way across Dusky Bridge. Then I used the snowmobile to carry it back to the Hazakura temple and... I used the steel Shitato to alter the way the wound looked.
So you moved the body.
Yes, I was raised at Hazakura Temple. I have a great deal of thanks to the Fae clan. But even so, I never imagined that Lee Stuxenin was actually Misty Fae. I've committed a terrible sin.
Terrible trick of fate.
I believe you're looking for Twist of Fate, Your Honor.
I intended to return to the Inner Temple after taking care of the body. But
You were spotted by the head nun, correct?
yes, and that's why I couldn't go back.
Your story makes sense, I suppose. Mr. Wright, go ahead with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. So you waited until everyone was over before making a move.
No, it's not like that.
She saw someone murdered right in front of her eyes. It's not surprising that she was a little timid.
Yes, I suppose that's true. Sometimes when I'm watching lawyers argue back and forth with each other, I feel so hopeless that I just sit quietly and wait for them to reach a conclusion.
Maybe your job as a judge to mediate the argument.
It wasn't until Mystic Maya saw me that it finally dawned on her what she had done.
So then, you knew. You knew the significance of the name Maya Fey.
Yes, of course I did.
That's odd. You insist the Bikini didn't recognize Maya's name, let alone her position.
Anyway, she was a very special person indeed.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't want Mystic Maya to be suspected in any way. And the best thing would be to remove the body from the crime scene.
Move your body all by yourself?
Yes, I did. It would have been impossible if it wasn't for the snow.
Snow. Pretty amazing you can make it all the way across that rickety old bridge.
It looks worse than it is. It's surprisingly sturdy despite its age.
It's like they say, idiots are too stupid to even catch a cold. It's one thing that bothers me. Why not just throw the body into the Eagle River? It would have been much easier than dragging it all the way to Hazakura Temple.
I thought that it would still cast too much suspicion on Mystic Maya. That's why I tried to take the body as far away as possible.
Huh. Makes perfect sense to me. For the time being. Anyway, what did you do after you crossed the bridge? A snowmobile? I knew that would show up sooner or later.
Yes, I had the key. I used the snowmobile to travel from Hazakura Temple to Dusky Bridge.
This is the part that was in question the other day. Should I ask for more details? Let me hear about this snowmobile ride.
Well, it was very cold that night. So I rode it all the way to the foot of the bridge.
I'm sorry, witness. But now, I've got a problem with your testimony.
Excuse me?
Get up. What are you up to now? At night, after the head nun left the remainder of the training to you, she said she walked from the Inner Temple back to Hazakura Temple.
Yes, I'm pretty certain that's what the record indicates.
Let's recall our comments on the subject.
Well, maybe. But when I made it back to Hazakura Temple, it was there by the main gate. The snowmobile, I mean.
The snowmobile was in front of the main gate. This is one of those contradictions, wouldn't you say?
Order! Mr. Godot. Why are you pointing out contradictions in the witness's testimony?
Let's just say I like things to be neat and tidy, okay?
Well, maybe... Is the bikini missed it? Yes. Maybe she didn't see it?
You think she missed it? That doesn't sound right. Huh. Whatever. Even I don't think this is decisive enough to warrant any more time or effort. It's just... You had better be careful in your testimony. That's all I wanted to say. A smart little cookie like you shouldn't have any trouble understanding that. What was that all about? Why could I want to give me a hint?
Very well then, let's continue with the testimony. So you transported the body by snowmobile all the way to the Hazakura Temple courtyard.
Yes. I thought that my mystic mind would never be suspected. But I thought anyway. And then I...
Is that what you were doing when Sister Bikini saw you?
Yes. That's right. She probably thought the worst.
Probably. Oh, like, definitely.
I see. So Sister Bikini mistakenly thought you were the one that murdered Miss Duxon.
So sorry. Please forgive me. It's my fault that this case has gotten so confusing.
I don't want to believe it, but I don't think my logic is failing me. Iris is trying to pin the murder on Maya. Why would she want to do that? There's only one reason I can think of. I grab a cushion from my butt. Anyway. Blah blah blah. Tracks. If you really did move her body by snowmobile, then there should be tracks left in the snow, right?
Well, yes, naturally you would expect tracks.
This picture was presented at yesterday's trial. Are these the tracks from that ride?
Yes. I think we are.
But I can only see one set of tracks here.
I don't see what's so strange about that. Snow was still falling when I left Hazakura Temple.
I see. Snow was still falling, huh?
And then when the murder took place, it had already stopped. That's why there are such fresh-looking tracks.
How about it, Mr. White? What do you think about this testimony?
The murder took place. The snow had already stopped. That doesn't make sense. If you stack it up against the other evidence... Your Honor, I'd like the statement Iris just made added to the testimony.
What? Does it have something to do with the case?
It will be made clear if you allow her statement to be added to the record. This should be fun. Let's get this snow business cleared up, shall we?
Yes, sir. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped.
Will I press what I haven't? You claim that the snow had already stopped when the murder occurred. But I'm sorry, Iris. That just isn't possible.
What?
This is the weather data from the night of the murder. According to this, the snow didn't stop until 10:50 PM. But you couldn't have crossed Dusky Bridge at that time.
Why do you say that?
Because 5 minutes before the snow stopped, Dusky Bridge was struck by lightning and had caught on fire.
What did you say? The bridge? It was on fire?
You don't mean to say you didn't know about it? It was because of that lightning strike that the bridge burned down.
What? But it can't be.
Looks like you still haven't figured it out. No matter how hard you try to deceive or conceal the truth, you can't pull the wool over the eyes of a real defense attorney.
No!
Order!
The bridge was already on fire when the incident took place. That's right, the inner temple was already totally cut off from the outside world. There's no way you could have crossed the bridge. Body or no body.
Witness! Even my patience has its limits. Any further lying and I will find you in contempt of court. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
The only person here that is truly contemptible is you. Old man.
Me? How dare you!
Whether this witness lied or not doesn't mean squat right now.
What?
The important thing now is to find out the truth. Isn't that right?
Yes, of course, but...
Whether it was snowing or not snowing, or whether the bridge was burning or not, there are two facts that can't be disputed. First, the body of Elise Duxanin was discovered in the Hazakura Temple courtyard. And second, the head nun, Sister Bikini, witnessed Iris desecrating Elise Duxanin's body. He makes a good point, on both accounts.
That's right. I'm not lying.
What are you claiming this time?
I wasn't myself at all that night. So my memory is still somewhat hazy.
You stood at that witness stand and testified this entire time. Are you telling us now that your memory of that night is hazy? It is only human to err. If you're so perfect trite, maybe you can explain this for the cause. What is it? When the murder happened, the bridge had already burned down. But somehow the body travelled across the bridge and was found in the temple courtyard. Perhaps you have some kind of perfect explanation for this little magic trick.
Well, not exactly, no.
There must be some other way she got across that burnt-out bridge. Unless I can somehow demonstrate it, I'll never know the truth.
It looks like the defense is not prepared to offer a suitable explanation.
You see what I mean? In other words, you're in no position to suggest that this lady's testimony isn't the truth.
All right then, witness. Let's hear your testimony once more.
At what, Your Honor?
You've admitted that you moved the body. Nevertheless, your prior testimony contains a rather large inconsistency. Please add an explanation for that to your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will this be a final testimony?
Other than walking over a bridge, there's no way to move the body. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. Was the snow still falling or had it stopped? Does it really matter that much? Or are you saying there is a way to cross a burning bridge?
So it was just a misunderstanding. I see.
This is a photo of Dusky Bridge after it burned down from the lightning blast. It was taken on the morning after the incident.
It certainly was burned to a crisp, and one of the suspension wires even snapped. It's amazing the whole bridge didn't fall. Clearly, it will be impossible to carry a corpse across a bridge in this condition.
Unless I do something to discredit this testimony, it's going to be deemed as the truth. And Maya will be accused of murder. Right. I'm only going to say it one more time. It is only human to err, and only humans can spot the errors of our ways. The more sense he makes, the less sense he makes.
All right, Mr. Wright. Please begin your final cross-examination.
Yes, but if the snow had already stopped when the incident took place.
I couldn't have crossed the bridge, naturally. But I think it's just like Mr. Godot said. The body did make it across somehow.
You seem to be quite sure of yourself when you gave your testimony. You said you were sure the snow had already stopped.
I'm terribly sorry. I was wrong.
Does she really think an apology is going to get her off the hook? This is no joke. You're giving sworn testimony in a court of law.
Well, Mr. Wright, let me ask you a question. Do you remember what the weather was like 1 week ago today?
Well, naturally it was,
You see, it's not that easy to remember, is it?
But if it had been some kind of a special day, I would have remembered. For example, it was pouring rain on the day of my elementary school graduation. No one wants to hear about your childhood traumas, Wright. What? By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. If you insist on obsessing over that one statement, Let's see the proof. Show some evidence that the body somehow crossed the bridge while it was on fire. Well, I don't see why there couldn't be a way across.
Mr. Wright, don't you think that sounds a bit silly? Dead body crossing a burning bridge. Did anyone actually witness such a thing?
If there was, I don't think you'd call someone like that a witness. After all, a dream isn't the same as actually seeing something. I'm all this way, so I owe it to everyone to figure this out. How do you transport a body across a burning bridge? I don't know the exact answer yet. It's okay. Start by examining all of my evidence and see where that takes me. I'll be like a shark. If I don't keep moving, I'm as good as dead. Dead body flying over a burning bridge. Wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility. What? Huh. You're saying it's possible? Don't make me laugh. The only thing that's possible about your claim is that it's being pulled out of thin air. I don't know about that. In any case, we have a witness who did see it happen.
Preposterous! Who is it? Who is this witness?
Can't chicken out here. Gotta keep on the attack and go, go, go. Miss Elise Duxonen's brilliant and highly gifted apprentice, Maurice Duxonen.
Brilliant.
Highly gifted.
Apprentice?
Remember what he said in his testimony? That night he was at the mountain shack, Heavenly Hall. And that's when he witnessed the event. I think you've all seen this sketch before. It's an exact drawing of what he witnessed that night.
Are you serious? Today's not April Fool's Day, is it? Mr. Wright, are you seriously claiming that the victim flew through the air? Are you using this pathetic scribble to support your argument?
Oh, the judge looks like he's about to blow a gasket. Huh. Well, Wright, there's nowhere for you to hide now. Other than looking like it was drawn by a 6-year-old, does this sketch prove anything else? Prove anything? Yes, pretty sure it does. I'm going to prove it. Listen, I know your tricks. You're trying to turn this whole thing upside down. If you're so eager to turn this case upside down, why not start with this sketch? Upside down? Why didn't Godot say that?
Right then, let's hear the defense's theory. What exactly is this sketch trying to show?
I don't think old Whiskerface is going to forgive any more mistakes. Alright, Phoenix. Look carefully and think it over. This sketch, drawn by Maurice Duxonen, is... Something is obviously funny about this sketch.
I'm no art critic, but even I can see that.
No, that's not what I mean, Your Honour. Maurice Duxonen stated it over and over. This sketch was exactly as he saw it. However, if we're to believe his testimony, then this sketch contradicts reality as we know it.
It contradicts reality.
This is getting interesting. Looks like you're back to that finger pointing thing again. Okay, Trite. So, what exactly is this? Whatever it was. This one? It's this wire connected to the bridge.
The wire?
Is that the thing that contradicts reality? It is indeed. Then show us the reality. Then show us the reality it supposedly conflicts with. Show us something that will point out how the sketch contradicts reality.
That's a photo of Dusky Bridge, correct?
Yes. Now compare the sketch. Now compare the sketch and the photo for a minute. In the sketch, the wires appear to be above the guard wires. But on the actual Dusky Bridge,
Jumping Jehoshaphat's! The wires are
below the guard wires.
what? Water! This sketch is somewhat different than what's depicted in the photo. However, isn't that likely that the artist just saw it wrong?
Or perhaps he just drew it wrong.
Either way, it sounds like you're just wrong. Someone like Larice, admit a mistake is a definite possibility. But then that begs the question. Why did he make a mistake? What was the reason? Are you saying you know the answer to that? Listen, think back, alright? Remember what Larice was doing when he witnessed this event. He was at Heavenly Hall, waiting for a lover that was never going to come. He waited and waited, and finally he laid down. But then, lightning shoots from the sky and sets the bridge aflame. Now, wonder what sort of position Larice must have been in at the time. He was lying on his back, which is why he remembered the scene the way he did.
He was lying on his back. I can't see how it relates.
It does, Your Honour. That is the reason why the wires in this sketch go up instead of down.
Oh! No way.
Larice Dixon witnessed the events when he was lying on his back, facing up. In other words, the scene that he saw was actually upside down.
So then, this sketch should actually...
I think you finally get it, Your Honour. The great way to view Larice Dixon's sketch is like this. This is how it should actually look. The victim's body wasn't flying above the bridge. It was actually swinging below. That's right, just like a pendulum.
Ridiculous! Order!
Of all the things to say, a pendulum. The bridge was burning to a crisp. There was no way to get across it. But if the body had been found at the inner temple, it would have caused problems. This is where the criminals decided to take a gamble. They used the burning bridge to get the body across to the other side. And a pendulum was the only way to get it done. Let's think about this for a minute, shall we? The ski bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff. Yes, that sounds right. In order to cover that distance with a pendulum, you would need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you'd have to plan ahead. The lightning struck that night could only have been an accident, So it doesn't make sense that the culprit would have prepared the rope beforehand. So then, they didn't have to get the rope ready. The rope was already right in front of them. What? I'm saying that it was just a matter of using what was already there.
In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think that the criminal had the rope on hand to create a pendulum? And the meaning of this is...
You want to know where the rope came from? It's hanging right there in front of your glorious beard.
Oh! This is one of the wires from the bridge.
When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, one of the suspension wires came loose from its anchor. The criminal didn't have any time to waste, so they tied the wire around Miss Elise Duxelin's body. Because there was simply no other way to move the body.
Mr. Godot. Seems that Mr. Godot is more focused on his coffee than answering my question. Seems that the odds of a rope being readily available were very high. So I suppose that it's not an impossibility after all.
Possible or impossible, that's not the question we need to ask. There's only one question: did that really happen? Right. I wonder if you can prove what happened to us. Do you have any actual evidence that the body was swung over like a pendulum? Before I present my evidence, let me review what we know so far. According to this photo, one of the wires snapped. Looking at the map, we can see it's the one that was in front of the inner temple.
So then, that was the spot where the criminal...
Yes, precisely. Now let us consider the body's movements by looking at the overhead map again. The body was pushed from this point here. It would drop on the opposite bank at approximately this point.
Did you say drop?
Well, they must have failed to catch the body on the other bank.
What makes you think something like that happened?
Because I have evidence that suggests her body dropped some distance.
What kind of evidence?
Take a look at this autopsy report. It says here that her body fell about 10 feet after her death.
10 feet, huh?
That's most likely the height difference between the two sides. The body overswung due to forward momentum, then came loose and fell about 10 feet. And then, as a result of the landing impact, this crystal sphere was knocked loose.
That's...
Yes, this blood-stained amethyst crystal. It's the one that came off of Miss Elise Duxelin's star. And even more important is the place where this crystal sphere was found.
Indeed. I believe it's already been marked on this overhead map. The crystal was found... Oh!
Precisely, Your Honor. In the very spot where the pendulum would arrive if given the right amount of speed.
This explains your theory quite well, Mr. Wright. Provided us with a way the body could have been moved that night. An impressive deduction, Mr. Wright. Most impressive. Mr. Wright?
I thought this cold coffee might help cool you down.
What is the meaning of this, Mr. Goodall?
That was a dark and bitter guess that you made, Wright. But you forgot about one thing.
What would that be?
The aroma. Huh? Coffee's most reliable accomplice is its deep and profound aroma.
The rest of the court doesn't speak Coffinese. Can you elaborate a bit more?
If the criminal had sent the body to the other side like you say, then naturally there must have been an accomplice lying in wait to catch it.
An accomplice?
The criminal wasn't able to cross Dusky Bridge, so who collected the body? What do you have to say about that, Wright?
Mr. Godot is correct. This can't be the work of a single person. Well, Mr. Wright, you know what you must do.
Yes, Your Honor. He couldn't have made it to Hazakura Temple without an accomplice.
Very well then. If you please, Mr. Wright. Who was the person that received the body on the Hazakura Temple side?
It can only be you, Sister Iris.
But I
don't see why you're so surprised. The only way to transport the body from Dusky Bridge is by snowmobile. But with her bad back, Sister Bikini could never pick up a body like that. You're the only one that could have managed it. Right, while you've been listening to the witness's testimony, on the night of the crime, this little cutie pie was on clean-up duty in the inner temple garden after the mother-daughter bloodbath. I haven't forgotten. But have you, Mr. Godot? This witness was also seen at Hazakura Temple, desecrating the corpse of the victim.
Strange indeed. It's almost as if, on that night, the defendant was in two different places at the same time.
Sister Iris, let me ask you something. Why didn't you mention it when you first gave your testimony?
mention what?
The pendulum, of course. Using this sketch drawn by an eyewitness, I've established how the body was moved using the burnt-out bridge. Which means it's now a fact that this occurred. Something you should have already known.
No, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about a pendulum.
But the body couldn't have been passed along to the other side without your help. So you should have known about it. In fact, it'd be impossible for you to be clueless about this whole thing. Unless you're not really Iris to begin with.
What? How can you say that, Mr. Wright?
What kind of nonsense is this? You're saying that this witness isn't Iris of Hazakura Temple?
Are you serious, Wright? You mean this woman is? There's no one else besides Iris that could have received the corpse that night. Now I get it. Now I know why I've been sick to my stomach this whole trial. Why her whole demeanour changed so suddenly from yesterday. And why she's trying to pin this murder on Maya. The woman that's standing there as the witness at the witness stand. Her real name is... I never thought I'd have to utter your name again, let alone see you. It's been a long time, Dahlia Hawthorne.
Hawthorne?
Sister Iris had a twin sister. And you're looking at her, Miss Dahlia Hawthorne.
They ring some bells. Distant bells, but bells nonetheless.
It's just your imagination, Gramps. This file contains all the relevant data about Dahlia Hawthorne.
Oh yes, I remember now. That case. 5 years ago.
My name is Dahlia Hawthorne. I just want to say, it's an honor for me to be here in your noble presence.
The honor is all mine.
Oh, the honor is all mine. But, according to this, Dahlia Hawthorne is already dead. It says her execution was carried out last month.
So what? Death has no meaning in this courtroom.
What? Order! Order! Order!
Wait a moment. How can you... My sister. She's already dead. What kind of...
You of all people should already understand. After all, the blood of the master of the Korean channeling technique flows within that body.
The Korean channeling technique? Where have I heard that?
That's right. You're not Dahlia Hawthorne herself. You're the spirit of Dahlia, currently inhabiting the body of a spirit medium. What an exciting story. Exciting, but quite impossible. You're asking us to buy that Dahlia Hawthorne just happened to be channeled by someone on the very night of the murder to a temple where her twin sister Iris was. Well, you're gonna put things that way? Yes. We're supposed to believe a coincidence like that just happens. Naturally, it was no coincidence. The whole thing was part of a plan from the very beginning. It's all written right here in these instructions.
What's that?
These instructions were written by your mother, Morgan Fay. And part of the plan called for Dahlia Hawthorne to be channeled. That night, there were 2 irises at Hazakura Temple. 2 of them. Even the time of the channeling was planned out. As soon as you hear the lights out bell. In other words, 10 PM. However, Iris was seen before dinner time.
That means the Iris that was at dinner was the real Iris.
And the Iris who gave me this hood in the main hall was also the real Iris. Meaning that the Iris Sister Bikini saw at the inner temple was someone else dressed as her, namely one Dahlia Hawthorne. Do you even know what you're saying, Trite? This whole channeling the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne business. Yes, it's true that you found plans that talk about it. However, there's one thing that's perfectly clear. The witness currently standing in the witness stand is the real Iris. What? Calm down and remember what you know about the night of the crime. After meeting Sister Bikini, the Dahlia Hawthorne that had been channeled would have been stranded at the inner temple due to the lightning strike. It was later that the body was moved by pendulum. That's right. Naturally, that would mean that the Iris that received the body was the real Iris, Are you with me so far?
Yes?
After being notified of what happened, the police came to Hazakura Temple's main hall. There they found Iris in a room and arrested her. And ever since, she's been under police supervision at the detention center.
Yes, I suppose. Can't deny any of that. Phew, thank goodness. It looks like he's finally convinced.
Something still seems off. Way off. Still not convinced that the Iris here is the same one from the other night. Huh. I suppose you're about to say something really ridiculous. Like the real Iris and the spirit of Dahlia somehow switched places.
Switch places? To be perfectly honest, there are still quite a few things I don't understand, but I do know that unless we confirm the witness's identity, we cannot continue this trial.
Iris doesn't have the spiritual power needed to channel Dahlia, which means they must have switched places somewhere.
Well, Mr. Wright, since the time she was arrested at Hazakura Temple, have there been any chances for Iris to switch places with Dahlia Hawthorne?
Your Honor, I think there might have been one chance.
Oh, explain yourself.
Yesterday, for a few minutes, Iris's whereabouts were unknown. Unknown? What do you mean? What I mean is, there was a span of time in which Iris was able to move about freely, unsupervised.
Well, who was it? Who will give a murder suspect time to move about freely like that?
I'm sorry, I know you didn't mean to. It wasn't your fault. The person who gave Iris the chance to move about freely was...
This is Mr. Edgeworth, isn't it?
Your Honor, there was a fairly large earthquake yesterday, was there not?
An earthquake?
Earthquake! Oh my goodness, the inner temple. This kind of tremor might...
How could I have... She fled. She escaped. We went to the inner temple right away. And it's true, Iris was already there. However, they had already switched places by that point in time. When I arrived at the training hall, I was met by none other than Dahlia Hawthorne.
That's quite enough already, Mr. Wright. Now, see here. No judge in his right mind will consider the idea of...
Be quiet. It's been a long time, Mr. Judge.
that voice.
Guess I'll have to ask again. Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask her name and profession. Ask for her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
Dahlia Hawthorne. My current profession, eminently retired.
Huh. So you're not going to bother hiding your identity anymore, huh?
Why should I? After all, I'm dead. There's really nothing you can do to punish me.
What is going on here?
Dahlia Hawthorne. Never thought we'd meet again. Never thought we'd meet like this. This time, I'll end it. for her and for myself. I need to get something to eat. Since I need to get something to eat, I may as well stop here for like an hour or so. Something to eat, something to drink. Have another one of my throat things. Then we'll come back and finish this off. So for the next little while, bye.